Island. They do such a great job of making us feel welcome, and that allows us to hopefully make you feel welcome to join us. And we're really happy that you're here. We've got a great program planned featuring, actually, we're talking to 2 nonprofits and a chance to win some cool prizes and an opportunity to network with other chamber members. So we're so glad you join us. Stick with us. We got some great prizes as well. We will also be talking with Mike Miller, who's the president and chief executive officer of the Riverbend Foodbank. He'll provide us with insights on an amazing, tremendous growth at the food bank. I got to tell you the truth. I mean, you're looking for safety nets in a community. This is definitely a group that is a safety net, and they've really shown how they can rise to the occasion after this last year with the pandemic. And also joining us is Dwight Ford, the executive director of Project Now. Talk about safety nets. What a perfect example. They will share insights on eradicating poverty in our community, the realities and the impacts of this situation, how our community can help people move up and out of poverty. A tough year. Project Now, vital role in the community to try to make sure that the community does stay stable. Like I said, the safety nets that we all depend on for our neighbors. And backed by popular demand is networking. It was so successful last time. We really hope that you take part in it once again. There is a prize involved if you do take part, so that's another incentive. We're going to give you a chance to meet up with some familiar faces. Also get to meet some new folks. Tremendously popular when we did this last time, so we hope you join us for that. But before we start our program, let's give a huge thank you to our sponsors once again who have made today's events possible. As the Chamber continues to host these virtual events, it's because of the sponsors that are helping us to be able to continue these events and offer them to you free of charge. So thank you, our annual sponsors, Werner Restoration Services, Mediacom Business, our music sponsors and good friends at WQUD-FM 107.7 Vintage Radio. And our monthly sponsor right now is Taylor Management Systems. We also want to thank Locals Love Us for some great prizes. And today, Amp Up is being powered by, of course, D-Film. So let's get started with a message from our annual sponsor, Mediacom Business.
Thank you for attending today's AMP Up presentation. While Iowa and Illinois have been cautious about in-person events, we're lucky to have this virtual alternative to stay connected and to continue to reap the benefits of networking. Thank you to the entire Chamber team for making these events possible. Mediacom Business is a proud annual sponsor of AMP Up and to support programming that benefits local businesses. In that spirit, to advance the Quad Cities regional economy, today's events highlight 2 of our local nonprofits that are committed to improving conditions related to hunger and poverty. No doubt their ability to stay connected to their community is at the heart of what they do, even more so during the events of the past year. Solid connectivity using phone and internet services make it possible to utilize the latest technology, helping to make all businesses more efficient and better able to reach their audience. At Mediacom Business, we're dedicated to ensuring you have the infrastructure and services you need to increase your business capacity. Some of the best work we do as part of the local chamber is by bringing everyone together, spreading the word that helps us all prosper and helping others. If you're interested in learning more about our services, please do not hesitate to contact me after the program.
Thank you, Derek, and the entire Mediacom Business team, along with all of our other sponsors. I also want to take a moment to thank Jim Mertens for emceeing this morning's program. I want to share a little bit about what the Quad Cities Chamber has been up to. Most recently, we released our 4th quarter market report. You may have seen it in our e-news. A few pieces from this report that I just want to share with you. The holiday surge with COVID showed that it affected hospitality most primarily, but I'm happy to report that the manufacturing industry was minimally impacted and continues to remain steady. We have seen a surge in our business attraction and expansion projects, and that points to a sign that we see more business growth coming. Consumer confidence continues to be on a rise. All things point to 2021 being a great year ahead. The Chamber continues to be your go-to resource for COVID resources. Most recently, we did a webinar that talks about how businesses can respond to the vaccine and what the rules and regulations are related to requiring your employees to get vaccinated. I encourage you to check that webinar out. It is available at quadcitieschamber.com, and there's also other resources that are available to you right there. We are broadcasting live from right here in downtown Rock Island. We recently formed a relationship with Rock Island to manage the place in downtown Davenport to continue to build upon the work that Rock Island's been doing. We also have relationships in downtown Davenport and downtown Bettendorf. This is so important as we see businesses looking to the Quad Cities as a place to do business. We need to make sure that we have the place that their employees and their talent wants to be. It is legislative season, and our team is busy looking at legislation that matters to your business. We provide regular updates on the regional priorities that the Quad Cities Chamber is working on your behalf. We have a bill tracker right on our website, and we also have webinars or programs every other week that you can engage in and hear from our local legislative elected officials. So please watch for that information. As we are here in downtown Rock Island and I see all the businesses around us, I want to remind you, keep your money in the QC. There's a lot of different ways you can do that, whether you're a business owner and you encourage your team to spend money locally, or you're a consumer and you're making your purchasing decisions. Think how you can keep that money right here in the Quad Cities. Our team is looking at ways that we can go from this virtual event to bringing back to you in person as vaccinations continue to be available. So watch for more information from our team on in-person events coming to you later this year. At this time, I get the pleasure of introducing to you our monthly sponsor and new member, Rob Taylor with Taylor Management Systems. Rob can help you achieve your company goals through the EOS operating system. The Quad Cities Chamber has the pleasure of using EOS as its operating system. It's completely transformed our business. Let's hear from Rob about his business.
Hello, Quad Cities. My name is Rob Taylor. I'm president of Taylor Management Systems. Thank you for the opportunity to sponsor this morning's Amp Up. And thank you to Mike Miller of River Bend Foodbank and Dwight Ford of Project Now for all that they and their organizations do for the community. I look forward to their presentations today. Well, who am I? Well, I'm an EOS implementer, and EOS stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's based on a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. And simply put, I help business owners and leaders get more of what they want out of their business and more out of the life they want to live. How do I do that? Well, I help them implement a complete proven system with simple practical tools that help them, again, get what they want from their business. In other words, long-term goals, their dreams, the work-life balance that they want. And we start by helping the leadership teams get better at three things. Vision, getting everyone in the organization on the same page with where the company's going and a plan to get there, getting them aligned. We also call that simplified strategic planning. And also they get traction, where they instill focus, discipline, and accountability as you execute and achieve that vision. And we help them get healthy, and they become a more healthy, functional, cohesive leadership team running the company. And from there, as your leadership team goes, so goes the rest of the company. We then push the system down into the company so that you see the vision being achieved with accountability and discipline by healthy teams throughout your company. If any of that resonates with you, I'd love to give you 90 minutes of my time to show you and your leadership team an overview of EOS, and so how you could experience vision, traction, and healthy in your organization. And for the first 5 companies that reach out and schedule the EOS overview with me by March 24th and mention this code, AMP UP QC Nonprofits, I will send each of your leadership team members a copy of the book, Get a Grip by Gino Wickman and Mike Payton. You can learn more about me and my company at my website, taylormanagementsystems.com. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm here to help. Stay focused.
Thank you, Rob. And once again, you can contact Rob, get a little bit more information about his company. And also we want to thank him for being a monthly sponsor. So important to have these sponsors helping us out. And to all our sponsors, their support actually allows us to continue to bring these programs and sources and resources. And the best part of having great sponsors, such as all of these, is that it is also free for you to attend this in this virtual world. We're all allowed to do this because of our sponsors. So now it's time to recognize some of the new members and welcome them to the Quad Cities Chamber. This is great news. We are excited to announce 16 new members, and take a look at that list. Wonderful companies, one and all, great businesses shown on your screen. This is another way we know that some consumer confidence is coming back in 2021. We've actually seen an uptick in new members since the start of the new year. So we're hoping that 2021 is so much better than 2020. Once again, as a new member of the Chamber, we invite you to take advantage of all the resources available to you and get connected to other businesses in the region. Make use of the Chamber's website. You'll see all of the opportunities that are available. And you can also stick around to the end of the program for our networking that we so much enjoy doing in the mornings. Opportunity to meet some of these new members as well. As Chamber members, we know it's always great to support other Chamber members, and I hope you will be able to meet them all, say hi, do business, make some connections. That's what it's all about this morning. It's also just another way to keep it QC, the ongoing campaign to make the most of our local economy. We also know that everybody loves prizes, and today everyone has been automatically entered to win one of our great prizes. This is the good news, is that you don't have to run here in order to pick up the prizes, though that would be kind of fun. We actually have the Chamber team will be mailing the prizes directly to you, our winners. Now, our prizes are provided by Locals Love Us, our annual prize sponsor. We have 2 prize packs from Locals Love Us. The first pack contains a $20 Hungry Hobo gift certificate and a $10 gift certificate from Whitey's. These are your names. It's all on the up and up. Trust me, I'm on TV. All right, let's find out who's the first winner. Why did you laugh at that? Why would anyone laugh at that? And the winner is Lisa Powell-Williams from Moline Public Library. Lisa, congratulations. I believe we have 2 of them. So the second is for a $30 Texas Roadhouse gift certificate and a $10 Whitey's gift certificate. Those 2 go together really well. And the winner is Ben Ziegler from QC Collab. So congratulations to both of you. Some of the prizes that we have going on right now. And of course, we have more prizes that are coming up, including one from Mediacom Business. It's a Halo Bolt, an all-in-one car emergency kit, an LED floodlight, battery-operated jump starter cables, AC wall charger, a 2X USB charging ports for small devices, all because of Mediacom Business. I'm supposed to show you this. Bob Barker had it easier than I do. I have to show my own props. I need the lovely Carol Merrill here to help me out. That's a reference to any of you who are over the age of 50. And it goes to Erica Schrader from Wellspire. Erica, congratulations, and thank you, Mediacom and Locals Love Us, for some great prizes right now, and I'm making a mess. We also want to give a special shout out to another one of our sponsors, our annual sponsors, WQUD, 107.7 FM Vintage Radio. Let's see what's going on with those good folks. Anaconda don't want.
We are WQUD Quad Cities Vintage Radio 107.7, your live and local station.
Well, I'm happy to be able to introduce to you Mike Miller, who's the president and chief executive officer of the Riverbend Foodbank, the largest hunger relief organization in eastern Iowa and western Illinois. He started a career in industry. He's been in food banking, as they call it, since 2008. He serves on the boards of Feeding Illinois and the Iowa Food Bank Association. Right now, he's the vice chair of Feeding America's National Council and the National Network of Food Banks. So let's welcome Mike and find out what's going on with Riverbend Food Bank.
Great, thanks, Jim. And I'm really glad to be here with all of you this morning to get amped up, right? So let me share with you what I've got planned for our time together. We'll share a little bit with you about the problem of hunger. And then the question everybody's asking about is how has COVID-19 affected it? Then tell you about Riverbend Food Bank and the amazing growth, both leading up to the pandemic and that's also continued during the pandemic. And then lastly, how you can help make a difference in our community. So the first question I always ask every group I speak with is, how can so many people be going hungry in a country that throws away so much food? And if we were together in person, I'd ask you to kind of get in your mind a couple numbers there. How many people do you think in this country don't have enough food? And how much food in pounds do you think we're throwing away? But since you're not here to respond, I'll go ahead and give you the answers. 37 million people right here in the US of A are what we call food insecure. Now that might sound like a politically correct term, but what we mean by that is insufficient food to have insufficient access to enough food to live a healthy, active lifestyle. So one's limited access to food inhibits their ability to learn, their ability to work, their ability to earn a living, just to be active and be healthy. It makes a difference in their lives. They don't have enough food. That's a little bit different than just being a little bit hungry. Then the sad part about that is that number includes 11 million children. 11 million children sitting in school here shortly, if they are, rather than thinking about how to do algebra or English, are instead thinking about, I wonder where dinner's coming from. And that makes it so much harder for those kids to succeed and to grow up and be successful and to contribute to society. And this is in a country that throws away 1/3 of the food we produce, 35 million tons, which will be enough to feed everyone. And so what I want everyone to know is the only thing it would take to put an end to hunger in our community is for us all to commit to never throwing away food that could still be eaten by someone in need. Now let's bring that down here to the Quad Cities area. The Riverbend Foodbank serves 23 counties in eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. There are about 1 million people in that space. Pre-COVID, 105,000 of whom didn't have enough food. That's right about 10%, 1 in 10 people. And those folks are missing just under 18 million meals a year. And then again, the burden of the hunger issue falls disproportionately on the most vulnerable in society, the old and the young. Of those people, 230,000 of whom are children, 34,500 of whom are children without enough food. Pre-COVID, 15%, 1 in 7. Here's the question everybody's asking me: how has COVID affected that? In the immediate aftermath of COVID, that number jumped from 105,000 to 159,000, almost 160,000 people that don't have enough food, to 15%, 1 in 7 people, and sadly, over 55,000 children. 1 in 4 children right now don't have enough food. That should be criminal, and we should all join together to try to fix that. The bottom line, food insecurity has jumped by over 50% since the COVID pandemic because of all the people furloughed from their jobs, the kids who used to eat at school, getting free or reduced lunch, perhaps even breakfast or after school, who aren't able to get those now. And that's what's put so much more of a burden on the need. Here's a graph that I think they're pulling up on the screen that lets you know kind of, here's how we've been doing. We have been, ever since the Great Recession of 2009, we have been battling back to reduce food insecurity. You can see the progress we've made there in the graph. Had COVID not happened, we likely would have called a press conference early in 2020 to let you know, for the first time ever, we had gotten food insecurity back down below what it was in 2008. It took us a full 10 years to recover from the Great Recession. And then COVID happened, and you can see it blew up the graph. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about Riverbend Foodbank. Here's a picture of the food bank, kind of over there in, I guess we call it West Davenport. If I were a real Quad citizen, I'd say it's by the old something or other, which is how everybody gives directions around here, which doesn't help me because to this day, I still don't know where the old Menards was. So please stop giving directions in that way. We're over there like just over the 280 bridge, past Credit Island, maybe behind Courtesy Ford, if you know that area. So mission of Riverbend Foodbank, to lead the community-wide effort to end hunger in eastern Iowa and western Illinois. We do that a variety of different ways you may be seeing on your screen, with partnerships with hundreds of different organizations, really thousands if we add that all up. We engage the public in hungry issues. People aren't aware that there's so many people hungry right here in America. We advocate. Hungry people don't have lobbyists, so we advocate in their behalf in Washington and in both state houses. What we're most known for, distributing food through a surplus of charitable agencies. And then we're just starting to strive to end hunger, not just when we have access to all these people and we're giving them food. Some of those folks have the ability to get out of their situation, and we're trying to help them build action plans to put it to so they no longer have a need. What we sum up by saying feeding people today and ending hunger tomorrow. There's a picture on the screen of that service area I share with you. A lot of people are familiar with Riverbend Food Bank and think we're just Quad Cities, but literally all over those 23 counties. We're traveling those 23 counties regularly. First, rescuing food that would otherwise be thrown away by manufacturers, distribution centers, retail stores, and then distributing it to a network of over 300 agency partners. Most are food pantries, some are meal sites, shelters, and the like, who help us get the food to the people in need. Now, Food Banking 101, you've got to understand the difference between food bank and food pantry. The public uses those terms interchangeably. I meet people all the time who say, oh, you work at the food bank. I help at the food bank in my church. Well, they're picturing a room about this size where a hungry person could go and leave with a bag of food to take home to their family. They're not picturing what you can see on your screen now, a 60,000 square foot commercial food distribution center that's stocking 300 of those food pantries across 23 counties. I'm not offended when you think of us as a food pantry, but you're missing the scope of what we're trying to do together to put an end to hunger in our community. You get asked all the time where the food comes from. It's really literally everywhere in the food chain, from manufacturers, distribution centers, retail stores. Sometimes they make it wrong, but there's nothing wrong with it. So like it's a 16-ounce package, they only put 15 ounces in it. They can't sell that, but we can give that away. And we're trying to connect to anywhere there's a dented can or the like to collect that. Some of the food, well, of course, around here, we're very familiar with the Student Hunger Drive, and there are other hunger drives. We're just wrapping up the Community Hunger Drive here in the community that helps provide food and funds. We have the TFAP program, that stands for the Emergency Food Assistance Program. That's a government program that really helps farmers. There's a surplus of something, so the government buys it, and then we give it away through food banks, and that raises the price. So farmers, that helps farmers when they're selling their products as well. And then we purchase about 10% of the food that we distribute for a variety, some for our programs and some just because it's convenient for our agencies to do that. So those programs, what we're most known for is that agency support, stocking the food pantries that I talked about. We also do mobile food pantries, load up one of our trucks with about 10,000 meals, take that out to a street corner and give that away. The backpack program, we pack up a couple lunches, couple breakfasts, couple dinners, get that to a school on Friday so a child on free and reduced lunch can take that home and have food to eat in the weekend. In some schools, we just put a pantry right in the school so the parent can come in and rather than just taking food home for the child, they can take a bag of food home for the whole family. We also do that in senior housing places. Oasis refers to food deserts where there might not be access to groceries that we get food to. And we also put pantries in hospitals. There are lots of times people show up at the emergency room and they really want to get admitted, not because of their ailment, but because they're hungry and they want the meal. If we can put a pantry there, that just skips the whole ordeal and the expense that we're all paying for and just gives people food, which is what they need in the first place. A fair question is, why do we need the food bank? If we have all these food donors and we have all these food pantries, why don't we just let them work together and not deal with the middleman and the expense? First off, most of the donors I know have food available in semi-trucks. And I don't know of a food pantry that can take a semi-truck of anything. So we take the semi-truck of cereal, of meat, of milk, of green beans, and then the food pantries can order from us, give me 3 cases of that, 2 cases of this and the like. The other thing is the food donors don't want 300 phone calls. And so if we didn't have the food bank and they were getting all these calls from pantries, they likely would just make it their policy not to donate because it's just too much of a hassle to do so. But with us, they can make 1 phone call, they can get it all to us, and then we can get it out to all 300 of those places. And then the other thing is that charitable food distribution in the United States is a very regulated process, and we make sure that all of those regulations are taken care of all the way through the process. We inspect every one of those food pantries to make sure that the process is being followed. So don't even get me started on what you all call the food product dating, but let me simply say there is no such thing as an expiration date for food. I've made a video on this. I put it on my LinkedIn account. Go find me on LinkedIn and you can watch it. I don't have time for the argument today, but that's just such a misperception that I will never miss the opportunity to share any place I speak that food does not expire. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that over 1/4 of the food we distribute is fresh produce. You think of food banks as kind of canned goods. that couldn't sit on the shelf forever, but fresh produce is the most abundantly available, and it's also the healthiest food that we can distribute. And so we do that a lot. We've got to be really nimble, right? Because those canned goods are good for years. That fresh produce might be good for weeks or even days from the time we get it, but that's over 1/4 of what we distribute. So want to make sure you knew about that. And supporting the food bank is just a good investment, right? Keep in mind that we're rescuing food that otherwise get thrown away. So the bulk of our supply chain, the biggest raw material we have, is something that would be discarded otherwise. It also is keeping out of the landfill. People may not know that when food decomposes underground in a landfill, it generates greenhouse gases 23 times more potent than our cars. And so I hope you care about the hungry kids, but maybe you find yourself more motivated to join the cause for the environmental benefits. Keep in mind, when you support the food bank, you're helping 300 charities across 23 counties. Really efficient operation. 96.4% of everything donated goes back out in services, which is important in terms of kind of the overhead rate, and very low cost per meal. Every dollar you donate provides 5 meals for people in need. Here's a graph that hopefully is coming up on your screen to show the phenomenal growth of Riverbend Food Bank. We moved to that facility over there in West Davenport in February 2014. That first year, we distributed 7.3 million meals. We set a goal that following year of tripling that by 2025, and people thought I was crazy. We actually tripled it by 2020 because of amazing support from the community and getting behind this cause, literally to put an end to hunger. And here's another way to look at that same data. This is a graph of distribution by month. So if you think of the entire 39-year history of Riverbend Food Bank, from 1982, it took us until August of 2016 to distribute our first 1 million meals in a month. And it took less than 4 years later that we distributed our second million in a single month in June of 2020. And in that graph, you can also see again that impact of COVID. This is a graph I kind of live and die by. The top line is the meal gap, the number of meals being missed in our community. That red line, that bottom line, the green line, is the number of meals we're distributing. And our whole focus at the food bank has been to make those two meet. That's what it's going to take. And you can see how close we literally were getting pre-pandemic, but then you can also see the effect of the pandemic and how much, and we distributed a whole bunch more food, which would have been enough to meet the need before the pandemic, but the need has jumped all that much. And that's not going to be over immediately after COVID. Recall, it took us 10 years to recover from the Great Recession. It's going to be a while, even if we're all immune tomorrow, for the economy to come back. So how can you help? It takes 3 things to make this work: food, time, and money. Anywhere that you're getting food, that you're buying food, ask them what they're doing with food they can't sell. When they tell you that they give it away, check to make sure. They might just be giving away their bread, and we want the canned goods. We want that produce. We want the banana that's not quite shaped right. You'd be amazed at a banana. If it's too straight or too curved, they throw it away. And it's got to be, we want all those bananas. Make sure that they're donating those and not throwing those away. Meat products, if you have, now the date on meat is important. On hardly anything else is it important, but on meat it's really important. But let's say, you bought ground beef over the weekend and you were planning on making spaghetti tonight, but we go to dinner instead. You don't go home and take that ground beef out of the refrigerator and throw it away. You freeze it. Now it's good for months. Well, that's what we want all the stores doing, right? If it hits the date, mark it down. Whatever doesn't sell by the end of the day, freeze it. We'll come by every week and pick that up and get that to somebody who'd be really glad to have it. It takes time. We, in normal times, have 36 employees and almost 4,000 volunteers in a year. So the year's been pretty tough because there's been that much more work to do because of the need in COVID, but hardly any volunteers because of COVID. And so even more work has fallen even more on the team. And so, if you happen to know any food team members, please reach out to them. We're thankful to still have jobs with all the people who have been furloughed. We're really thankful to be making such a difference in the community because this has been really important, but the team's really tired. They've been working really hard, and so cheer up your local food banker. And we are kind of loosening up now with vaccinations and masking and social distancing and starting to ease volunteers back in. And on our website is just this beautiful place where you can, you can register yourself as a volunteer, you can see the whole schedule, you can pick out exactly what you want to do, when you want to do it, and sign up right there. And we'd love to start having people back. And of course, it takes funds. No way this happens without financial support, and would appreciate hearing from you. Lastly, with the phenomenal growth we've experienced, we're going to have to do something to be able to support ongoing growth. And so, you know, and we're not ready to talk about that, but if you're out there and able to make a leadership gift toward making that kind of thing happen, I'd love to hear from you. My contact information is on the screen, or you can also find, you're able to do all that stuff right there on the website. So one last thing I want to share with you, because it's really pertinent to the news of the day. Note the statistics on the screen about the difference in food insecurity statistics by demographic. Black Americans are 2.5 times less likely to have enough food than are whites, and there's nothing about the color of someone's skin that should determine whether or not we have enough food. And so whatever it is that's broken in our society that causes that to be the case, it's mission central for us to fix, and we would welcome being a part of that. And so I'll close with my favorite quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Why should there be hunger and privation in any land, in any city, at any table, when man has the resources and the scientific know-how to provide all mankind with the basic necessities of life? And so with that, I'm going to get subjected to a little grilling from Jim here. So.
Well, once again, a great presentation. We appreciate it. I love the term food rescue, because you never think of it in that term. You did touch upon the student hunger drive, and I always kind of go back to that. Is that, I mean, it's one of the biggest collections of food that you see. And you talk to the Mississippi Valley Regional Blood Center. Without students, there were no big blood drives in schools. The same was happening with you, which really shows the impact of students and young people. Do you see that coming back in 2021?
Yeah, we're really hopeful. You know, as you know, you scooped me on the cancellation from 2020. And, you know, we'll have to make a decision sometime this, you know, before the school year ends about the fall, because preparations need to happen. And of course, the most important thing for schools is taking care of our kids. So we're going to prioritize that, make sure we're not in their way. But if it's possible, you know, one of the great legacies of this community is that entire generation of Quad citizens became aware of the food insecurity issue through that experience with the student hunger drive. So we're very hopeful that we could possibly make that happen in one way or another.
We're talking, of course, to a lot of business leaders that are, you know, they have small groups of employees or even large groups of employees. They're looking for team building exercises, ways to, you know, bond together with your company. And you're pointing out all these volunteer efforts. I would assume that's something that you would like to see more of, is that if a company is looking for a way to bring people together, perhaps they could volunteer for you.
Yeah, that works really well with us. I mean, our conference room, we often, you know, it's called the Vogel Room, named for Bud Vogel, the founding board chair of Riverbend Foodbank, but we often refer to it as a community room, because what a lot of groups like to do is come in and have a little group meeting, maybe a little training, a little, you know, team building, whatever, and then tie that to a volunteer experience. So they can move right from that room out to the space where they can do some sorting of food or packing or what have you. And we'd love to have folks do that. And you can sign up for that, or there's an email address for a volunteer manager right there on the website.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mike Miller.
My pleasure.
We also want to thank D Films. We're broadcasting here from, well, not even broadcasting. Look what my career is. We're on the web, of course, and streaming because of D Films. And let's see a little bit more about what they're up to. Our thanks to D Films, of course, and the entire crew that gets up early to join us to make me look this good. the moneymaker. Looks great because of Phil and the team that's here. I'd like to introduce now the Reverend Dwight Ford, who's the Executive Director of Project Now. Dwight's an innovative leader, author, thought provoker, as well as a public theologian. He successfully completed a 6-year military career with the United States Marine Corps. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Western Illinois University with a concentration in business management and leadership. Also has a Master of Divinity degree from Harvard University. Project Now is truly the safety net that we need now and in the future. So ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Dwight Ford.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning to all. This is a wonderful day to have this conversation, and I consider myself to be on a campaign to make known the reality of poverty in the Quad City region and to find workable solutions that we can join in the work together. It was in the year of 1815, as a matter of fact, that a volcano erupted in Indonesia, Mount Tabora. It threw volcanic ash into the atmosphere, and of course, it devastated the surrounding area, created tsunamis and earthquakes. But what people may not know is that the following year suffered greatly because of that 1815 reality. The following year, of course, became known in the history books as the year without a summer, 1816. The crops did not grow. The vegetation was nowhere to be found. There was frost and frigid weather in July and August, even in the United States. Massive weather swings. Depression started mounting up. Despondency was everywhere. And a sense of deep angst and anxiety about what would happen in the future. And so that after this run of disease and mayhem and frustration, the great thing about history that it records is that the next year, the summer returned. I mention that story simply because stories help us see in a way, in an era, to help us understand life a little bit better. I wanted to lift that story up because impoverished folks and families live without a summer. Their hearts are always filled with palpitations and angst about what will happen tomorrow. They're always living on a razor edge reality. The winter never breaks, and it seems as if they're always existing in a frigid reality. Well, Project Now has been at this work now for 53 years. We have everything that we could possibly do in the context of this 3-county reality to throw at the issue of poverty. We have senior services. We serve over 2,000 seniors. We have transportation services for rural communities, for that work that happens in Mercer County and Rock Island County. We have Head Start, 330 slots for children endeavoring to get that first big bump in education. We do community services. Of course, we find a way to support energy assistance, and many people know us from LIHEAP, that low-income house energy assistance program. We've already surpassed the numbers with 5 months in the year, the calendar year, or rather the fiscal year remaining, because of the COVID reality and so many people needing our help. We do mortgage assistance, rental assistance. We make sure that we can find a way to support education. We scholarship into CDL truck driving certificates. We make sure that we get people into the nursing career. We do everything we possibly can to get a person moving up and out of poverty. In a real sense, that's our mission, to eliminate the causes of poverty through strategic initiatives. And when we can't move a person up and out, because there are some other extenuating circumstances, then we work to alleviate the negative conditions wherein poor people exist. Just because a person doesn't make as much as someone else doesn't mean their home should be rat infested and roach crawled. It doesn't mean that their home should not have the wind blow through it each and every winter. So we fight that with weatherization programs, single family housing, rehab initiatives. We do all that we can. And I need to tell you, I need some help. That's why I'm here. I'm here because we need additional hands and support in this kind of work. You ask, why is poverty so persistent? I would dare argue that we don't really understand poverty. Why is it so persistent when faith groups have been added for centuries based on their theological understanding? Why is it so persistent when we had the kind of settlement movement that came in and put wealthy individuals in context and with low income reality? Why is it so persistent when we had great governmental rollouts of the Great Society and New Deal? Why is it so persistent? Because I really don't think we understand. Most of the time when we talk about poverty, we start with the federal poverty level. And it tells a story, but it doesn't tell us enough. It doesn't tell us the complete story. The truth is that for an individual, they can make $12,760 a year. That puts them under the federal poverty level. For a family of four, it's just $26,200. That tells a story, but it doesn't tell the complete story. It doesn't tell us the depth of poverty that that person may be in. It just gives us the level. It doesn't tell us whether or not they're closer to the top of the well or does their face rest at the bottom of the well. It doesn't tell us the duration of of poverty that family has been in. Because when you really understand poverty, because poverty is not a mindset, it's a reality. It's a real thing when your stomach growls because you don't have enough to eat. It's a real thing when you realize that the home that you're living in is actually falling down around you and you have no way to take care of it. It's a real reality when you know that you don't make enough to take care of the ends of your home. And so that it does not produce, it is not a mentality, but it can produce a mentality. That mentality is basically described as hopelessness. That duration of poverty really does make a difference. And then it doesn't tell us their situatedness. Is it a woman fleeing from domestic violence with children? Is it a person that has survived an addiction? Maybe it's a loved one that has been living with an addicted partner. It doesn't tell us enough. And so that's why we have to work to understand poverty much better. And of course, as we start thinking about ways that we could confront this challenge, I like to think of it in dealing with these 5 major pillars of systems that we at least have to be in conversation with each other. Because the way we're going at it right now, we're trying to solve poverty in a single effort. Education folks are working on it this way. Economic folks are working on it that way. People in healthcare are working on it this way. But we got to figure out how to close ranks and draw in our best strengths so we can confront it together. Because we really don't know enough about generationally poor people to think that just one way of trying to solve a problem is going to get it. Generationally poor people is what James Baldwin described, individuals living in the dim lit cell of the American dream. You know just as well as I do, if you were born into a low ceiling environment, that sooner or later your back was going to be bent over, that your eyes probably would not focus the light well because of a dim lit reality of light only coming through a porthole, that your dreams would be dashed because you would watch everybody walking to their destiny through this small porthole reality. And while you feel trapped inside, you can hear the celebration of the floors above you dancing to the joy of music and achievement and life itself. So the way we adjust and think about generationally poor individuals is going to be different than the way we confront crisis poor individuals, people that were once stable and people that maybe could not go to Disneyland every year, but they could get up to Great America and spend a little time there and maybe catch one hotel room and have a nice meal packed up and maybe get one meal out as a family. But now with COVID and so many other realities, the separation from jobs, and they're stuck now. They're starting from scratch. And this crisis poor reality, the largest category is separation from a partner. Divorce immediately sends women and children into poverty. The other large category, of course, is healthcare. And I'll be honest with you, this is a moment of transparency. I would gladly let my financial stability go into ruin if I believe that next round of chemo will keep my loved one here. They could drag my car out of the driveway. They could put a sticker on the side of my home and say repossessed. But I would do all that I could regardless of the consequences of my financial standing. And that's what so many people are facing today. And so when we start thinking about even the working poor, and it's hard for me to stand up before you even and say the words working and poor in the same sense, since they're oxymoronic. A person should not be able to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still not have enough. And so what we're trying to do is find a solution. And if we work with education, I'm talking about pre-K, working our way all the way through a process to college and universities, trade schools. I'm talking about economics and making sure that we have an economy that works for everyone, thinking about where the industries will be as we throw a pass, where the receiver will be. How do we work with local businesses here to get into the community college network and start teaching so there's a natural network? Healthcare, is it affordable? How can we have more community-based healthcare and preventive services? Housing, we already know there's not enough beds for homeless people. We know the shelters are lacking in numbers. And we also know there's 6,500 units short of affordable, safe, and decent housing. How do we move more people that are paying more for rent than they could for home ownership? So then they have the leverage of giving it to another generation or taking advantage of the equity that stands on that home. And then we got to talk about restorative justice. How do we welcome people back from prison? How do we make sure that when they return, to over 650,000 that will each and every year, that they're not locked into a caste system where they won't be able to move up and out of poverty, and their children and children's children will suffer. And so I'm happy to be able to talk about all these things with so many wonderful people. And so what I want you to do is think with me, how do we widen that stairwell up and out of poverty? How do we get more people on that, particularly generationally poor people? Because I guarantee you, because what I hear most often is, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just do that? Maybe through that porthole window, they've never seen that. But if you and I could work together to get them to the first level on that home, the entry level, I guarantee you, if they stand in the window, they could see more. If they open that door, they could see more possibilities. And if you and I could get them to the next level, or even the roof, they can even see a world of opportunities. I want to make sure children that are born in the socioeconomic basement of today's society get a chance to live on to the balcony of tomorrow's opportunity. And I think together we can do that. And then, of course, as we work with people that are crisis poor, now that's an image of something that I am very fond of. It was in the era where kids actually went outside and played. That's a merry-go-round for those that may not recognize the picture. And when I was a child, that you would hold on to the edge, and of course, someone that is sensible and sane that was close to your age would move that merry-go-round at a pace that you would enjoy life. But we know that's not normally how it would work. Forgiveness, harshness of the language. There would probably be some young person, maybe even a young maniac in the making, grab the edge of it and would spin you around at light-breaking speed and throwing children and their shoes and socks off into the packed dirt reality. That's what life does to so many people. I learned not to run away from that park and that merry-go-round. I learned that if I could get to the center, that I could even stand up in it, regardless of how fast it was going around. What I need to ask you is, would you help secure crisis-poor individuals to get to the center so they can get back on their feet? They already have a history of being okay, but some type of reality, some sickness, some separation from work, some challenge has spent their world around. We may not be able to stop their world from moving so fast, but we can help to get them to the center. And of course, as we start thinking about those that are working poor, and so many people say, well, they don't need a handout, they just need a ladder so they could climb up. That's true, but I've learned something. The higher you go on the ladder, you need someone to hold it. I'm asking, would you put your hands alongside of mine and so many others to hold that ladder so we can better understand how to move people up and out of poverty? Hold the ladder so that they can take another step. Let's make sure that the ladder doesn't have any deficiencies, or the ladder up and out of poverty is strong enough to hold them for their next step. And so this is the reality. And how will we get there? We got to reimagine. The best in the American experience starts with a reimagining, revisioning what our community could be like. And then, of course, we have to reframe the challenge. And what I mean reframe it, I don't care how beautiful the picture is, that frame helps. That sense of differentiation and designation of focus really does help. So we got to reframe the challenge. We don't have a war on poor people, we have a war on poverty. Martin Berg said the principal suffering of the poor is shame and disgrace. Why should it be a shame, almost as if it is a human deficit or deficiency to be poor? We got to stop. We have to find a way to dignify people right where they are. And then we need to rewrite the narratives. Our agency is built on the understanding that maximum feasible participation makes a world of difference. And so 1/3 of our board is low-income individuals. We don't make programs for us. They help govern and design the programs. 1/3 of our board is also government and elected officials. 1/3 of our board is, of course, business sector and community members. And then, of course, how do we recommit to do the difficult? This isn't easy work, it's necessary work. That means that we got to learn to look our community in the face and look in the mirror and see what it is and then make adjustments. It is an immature state of mind to wake up in the morning, look at oneself in the mirror and say, I'm good to go for the day and walk out without making adjustments. What we want to do is make sure that we don't run from what we see. Know the numbers. That's what we're going to spend this whole year on in this campaign, is getting a really good grip on the numbers, not because we want to beat institutions over the head with them. It's that we want to bring these numbers to the table and say, this is our starting point. Now, where do we go from here? And if we look into that mirror long enough, we should be able to look out a window. The mirror tells us what is, but the window tells us what can be. And if we continue to look out of a window of hope, because we're going to need it. I'll end with this thought. Some years ago, you heard in my bio, I was a United States Marine, and I experienced a lot of great and wonderful training, but I was a part of another institution. I had returned back home, and they had come up with this wonderful idea that they were going to do this rope course. Now, I had spent a lot of time on rope courses, obstacle courses. I really didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. But out of that, I got a wonderful illustrative mindset to share with you. As we were climbing up that rope at a level that was very steep, there were people underneath that had a net. These individuals were to hold that net at a relaxed state while the person was climbing, using all of their wit and ability, that if it happened to be their lot, if they got too tired, if the wind blew, or if they felt too despondent that they could not go another place on that rope, their responsibility as they let go was to say falling. And the people underneath, their responsibility was to stretch the net. I'm asking you to put your hands on that net with mine and so many others so that we can stretch this net. We have a net, it has to be stretched. If it's not stretched, it's not enough to have it. People will still fall and injure themselves. And what we want to do is ensure that when people fall into poverty, that they will not crush their hopes for the future, that they will not break their spirits in the fall, but they could land safety because you and I are stretching the net. So let's stretch the net together. Let's make of this world a better place. Thank you so much for your time.
Reverend Ford, thank you so much. Project Now, of course, is so well known for, let's say, administering a lot of federal or government programs.
Yes.
As you said, a lie heap is such a huge deal. The senior, the bus services and all that. Are there new things that Project Now is going to try to do, especially in 2021, that you weren't able to do last year?
No, absolutely. We're taking a look now and how do we strengthen local small businesses, that individuals that are low income are having a desire. Now, we're not doing it all ourselves, but we're in wonderful new partnerships that allows us to have a pipeline into those programs and strengthen some of those small businesses that make just enough where they can hire just one person. How do we build capacity so they can hire more people in the community that are in the same state that they're in?
And you really do bring up a good point, is that you can have a safety net, but you need people to be holding that safety net. Yes. In other words, it's not Project Now, it's the community.
It is, absolutely. And our best work is done in tandem. That's how we got our start. It is always connecting the dots. And how do we strengthen the cord? The African proverb says that many hands can build the house that one man's hands cannot. And what we want to do is build a community that everyone can have residency and hope in.
Reverend Ford, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Now you can see why these people are actually major leaders in our community, and we thank them one and all for showing up today, both Mike and Reverend Ford. One of the best parts of AMP Up, of course, is the opportunity to meet up and network with fellow chamber members, also a chance for you to meet the new members. And here's how it works. Just stay where you are right now. We're going to automatically send you into what's called breakout rooms. We did this last time. It's a group of maybe a little less than a dozen people. It's been fantastic how it worked last time. You'll have about 8 minutes to network and make some new connections. When you get to the breakout room, make sure you unmute your microphone. Most importantly, give everyone a chance to give kind of a 1-minute introduction real quick. Give your name, company, what your company is known for, so people kind of know a little bit about you. It's an open discussion. Or if you are stuck, you can always share with what's happening with your company in the first quarter and maybe ask for some tips or maybe give some ideas for the entire group just to get it started. Then we will automatically bring you back to this main room so we can wrap things up. Now, I want to tell you that we are going to be drawing for another cool prize at the end of the program. And in order to be eligible to win, you got to participate. Just a little bit. That's all we ask for you. So turn your video cameras on. We're going to unmute everyone. Go out there, meet some new people, make the most of it, and we'll see you back here in about 8 minutes. This is Dylan Franks. So Dylan, congratulations. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for being part of AMP Up as well as this discussion that we just had. Now, as a reminder, there are some great chamber events that are coming up. Our next legislative events program takes place Friday, March 19th at 9 a.m. So critically important, especially now with government making major moves in both Iowa and Illinois on the federal level as well. Really need you to be up to date on that, and the chamber is on top of that. The legislative events program, Friday, March 19th at 9 in the morning. Now, if you enjoyed this chance to catch up with fellow members today and want to meet even more people, we have an entire program dedicated to networking, kind of what you just saw, on steroids. What a great opportunity is the Business Exchange. It's coming up Wednesday, April 14th at 11. Once again, all this information is available at the Chamber website. What a great resource. It is also where you can register for the program. And what a great program this was, right? Inspiration, but also a lot of information from Mike Miller and the Reverend Dwight Ford. They joined us to talk about the impact that they're having in the community, but more importantly, how you can have an impact in your community as well. Later today, you're going to get an email from the Chamber. Don't delete it. Don't just put it in one of the files. We are going to be asking you for just a quick 1-minute survey. We want to know what we're doing right, but also get some information on what we could do to be better. And that's what's so important in 2021. It helps the Chamber team know exactly where they are and how they can help you even more. You'll also, once again, we're all about the prizes. If you do that, you'll also be eligible for a $25 gift card. So cha-ching is the word of the day. Thank you once again to our AMP Up sponsors, Warner Restoration, Mediacom Business, WQUD FM 107.7 Vintage Radio, Taylor Management Systems, welcome. We hope that this program was good and beneficial for you. Locals love us who make sure that we have the prizes and do so many great things in the community. Of course, Phil and the crew at D Films that got up, I believe, at 3 a.m. to make this all possible. What a great group of people. Thanks for joining us. My name's Jim. I hope you had a great time. But you know what? You got to leave at some point. So get out of here and go make some money.